when people talk about recovery, and when I meet anybody who's recovered, I watch them with only an autism mother's eye, where I'm like, like looking for the cracks in the seams and looking to see, what can you do, what can't you do. I'm a little on the obnoxious side, and and everybody has quirks and everybody has different things, but and sometimes when you meet somebody who's recovered, you can see that there's an area that they're still working on different things, as anybody would be. But I have to say that I look at your son and I only see a child who it's amazing. I see a child that there are no signs. I don't see any cracks. And do you?
Well, I mean, it's such a blessing. I can't tell you enough. But his sisters think that there are still things going on with him. Let me tell you. But
that's a sister's prerogative. I think that's right. A whole other thing. You know what I mean? But he's remarkable.
He is very remarkable. I mean, he is in the 4th grade now. He is he's in GATE. We just yesterday we had a conference with his teacher, and when we received that recovery diagnosis, we never told any of his school teachers about his prior diagnosis, and so we really went into a new school completely blind. Here's my kid. He's all fine. He's yours, you know. And so teacher conferences have always brought on an immense stress for me, because you never know what the teacher's going to say. And, the teacher yesterday, not only is he doing wonderfully in class academically, but he says he's very funny. He's matured since he's gotten in. He sees where, sometimes his humor maybe is a little out of place, but he gets the look that the teacher gives. And, I mean, you just walk out so just joyous that that's where we're at.
So even because you have been outspoken and you were featured in different public outlets about your story, and I appreciate that. I know that's not everybody's choice, but I appreciate it that you have been outspoken and said, here's our story. But his teacher does not know.
No, and I think that there was something that came out last year that did clue some people into it, but it was, nobody came up to me and said, oh, that's what it was. We always knew Justin was quirky, but no. I mean, it's just been like, really? Well, I didn't know that you guys went through that, so.
Isn't that interesting?
So yeah, and I just feel I feel, like I said, it is an immense blessing, and it is my duty as a woman of faith and as somebody that has been so privileged to have this happen to our family, that I really believe that it's something I'm meant to do, is to share his story.
Well, and you do, and that's not the only thing that you do. I mean, you're a very active person in getting help for other people's children. We can't, it would be horrible if we didn't mention that, because you work so diligently, and I know this about you. You are, and can I also say too that you do it without being in the spotlight, that you were always behind the scenes, and you're one of the people who works with autism care and treatment today, and so diligently. But I always see you're like the worker bee in the background who's making sure that everything goes smoothly, and you don't ever take the spotlight. And well, you don't. I don't ever see you do that.
Nancy's always nice to make sure that I am given my praises, that any employer, any boss would do. But anyway, it is just, this is a journey, as everybody is on, and for me, the journey led me back to helping other families. And I mean, what a privilege it is to be able to be passionate about what you do and to be able to make an impact. Because like we were talking earlier, the financial strain is immense.
It is.
And we felt it. And I mean, you just do when you're in this journey. So
you find a way that you didn't know you could. Yeah. But let's go back to the beginning for you, because I'm sure that I would imagine that when people meet him now, that they go, oh, have you had somebody say to you, he must not really have had autism, or no?
Oh, yes, many times. I find I have to defend his diagnosis, his prior diagnosis.
Because we get that with Jem, and Jem clearly isn't recovered yet, so I would imagine that it would just be that times 24 for you, because I think anybody looking at your child would go, no, that can't possibly be.
And the only way I can answer something like that is to just simply state the facts and to say, you know what, we had 4 doctors diagnose Justin with autism. And so I don't really see how 4 doctors could be wrong.
Right.
You know?
Right. And he had some really extreme behaviors too. This is not a child that was just like, we're not sure if there's autism. You know, tell us some of the different things that the kinds of behaviors that he would engage in that were making things really difficult.
Oh, sure. Well, I think the thing that caused the most havoc in the family and that really got us like something is wrong here was that the tantruming and just the light switches on and off all the time. But he was a toe walker. He had no language, and he has a twin sister, and so you know we saw her progressing, and obviously he didn't. You know, just that inattentiveness, not listening to his name, not responding, just that blank part about him. So.
And he had a real thing with doors too, isn't that true?
Yes, yes. That repetitive motion, being up and down or upstairs. I mean, you'd be driving in a car, and he would be pointing at a door, and if a garage door happened to be going up, it would be he didn't point at first. It was a scream, you know. Right. But yeah, it was all-consuming for him. Yeah,
amazing stuff. And so, how old was he when you started ABA for the first time? The first day?
He was 2.5, and we started with a different provider to start, and that was, you know, I remember fainting when they told me that we might have to have 8 hours of ABA therapy a week.
Right, because that seemed like a lot, right?
What?
Like,
I'm a mother of twins.
How am I going to fit that in?
Yeah. And then I got educated, and then I started fighting for as many hours as we could get, and then at that point we petitioned to switch over to Center for Autism and Related Disorders.
And so how old was he when you started then with CARD?
He was 2 years, 9 months.
Okay, so it wasn't long before. Great. And we talk a lot on the show about how it's important that everybody know that ABA is effective in creating progress for every child, no matter where your child is. We know statistically that some kids are going to recover. We know statistically that some kids are not going to recover, but they're going to make tremendous progress. And we know statistically that some kids, usually kids who are twice exceptional, have other things going on, are still going to make great progress, but they're going to need more help and support throughout their lives. And I know that that's hard for everybody to face, that it seems sort of like this lottery. Well, where am I going to end up?
Right.
But I think, you know, it's interesting. Whenever I look at your child and my child side by side, I think it's a really interesting tale of those first 2 parts of the story, because our kids are exactly the same age, and they started pretty much, you got a little bit of a jump on me, about a 6-month jump in starting ABA.
Okay.
But both of our kids, your child recovered kind of quickly in terms of the you know, how many years did it take of ABA?
So 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And we say a minimum of 2 years, but a lot of times takes 4 or even 5, but 3 years, and then you were done.
I know. We are at the point now where I have had more time without autism in Justin's life than we did prior, and it's an amazing place to be. But it is still this part of you that never, for me, will never leave me. It is, everything in life is so much more beautiful and so much more cherished as a result.
Absolutely. And so when you started ABA, did you, in the first year, did you see tremendous progress, or what was that first year like for you?
Yeah, we did see a lot of progress the first year, and I have to say that we started kind of everything at the same time in terms of other therapies and also a lot of biomedical. So we were very methodical in tracking what was started at a certain time, and so we could see what was benefiting. But the ABA tracking actually did really help us with that other piece of the biomedical, because we could track his behaviors based on some things we were doing biomedically. But yes, Justin started gaining speech. I remember at 2 years, 6 months, he had 10 words that we could kind of understand. And by December, that 6 months later, he had over 300 words.
It's amazing.
So it was tremendous. And he was starting to do two-sentence phrases and things like that. So.
But important to note that with all that progress in the first year, you weren't recovered in the first year. Because I think a lot of you listening, you need to get your heads wrapped around the fact that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Oh, yes, definitely. Not even thinking about recovery. I mean, always, because I knew that this was possible from the start. That was always my end goal, or our end goal, like any parent.
Yeah.
But not even thinking I could touch it yet at that point.
Right. And so then 2 more years. At which point did you start to think, I think we're going to make it. I think we're going to get there.
Oh, I remember, because we were in a pretty intense battle with the school district. We had a couple of those. And so, we were having to make some decisions on that piece. And our team really would say, Laura, we only need, another 8 more months and we're going to be done. And that's a really hard thing for a parent to try to wrestle with, because you don't want to trust that, but you need to, because they are your autism experts, and you've been trusting them all along, so there's no reason not to.
Right.
But and so that was about December of 2007.
Right.
And then he lost his diagnosis in June.
And that, when you went in and had that meeting with Dr. Grandpichet, where she said, your child is recovered, did you know that that's what you were going in to talk about during the meeting, or was...
We did. We did. It was, let's set up this meeting, and we set it up forecasting, when that might be able to happen and so forth, and then it happened. I mean, a goal accomplished.
There you go. Yeah. Mission possible.
Yes,
mission done.
possible.
Which is a lovely, lovely thing. And now, you got to see a little bit in the video, but tell us what kinds of things he's doing now.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, he is going to be 10 next week. And so he is a Minecraft crazy guy, We'll
have to get him playing with Jem, because that is his current obsession too.
Oh my goodness. So I mean, but and so that, when I, as a mom, like you said, that hypersensitive, you're always like, I'm like, he started a club at school to talk about it. So it's not just, so I feel like a little bit better. It's like it's a social thing too. It's not just, but so he likes that. We just signed him up for baseball for spring. He just finished football. He's, he's in Boy Scouts, and just,
and he's
really
beautiful.
Regular kid.
He's absolutely beautiful. Somewhere there was one news report that they did, and they had Jem and Justin in the same room.
Yes.
And we have the videotape somewhere. We'll have to find it. But it was really fascinating to me, and I shared with you afterwards, because I looked at it and I said, okay, here's where we are in relation. Here's where Justin is. That's where we need to get. This is where Jem is, but we're still moving in that direction. And that's a wonderful thing for me to be able to see. It's a wonderful thing for all of you. I hope you look at this and say, look, this is where we can get.
Yeah.
It's truly amazing. But before we let you go, I just want to go back and say that, ABA, so essential on this, but it wasn't the only thing that you did. So what was the recipe for success for your individual child? And we know all kids are different. You did ABA, you mentioned you did some biomedical stuff. Was there anything in particular that was effective with Justin?
Well, we started right off, obviously, with the diet. And so actually, once we removed dairy, toe walking went away for him.
Okay.
So, those kinds of things, definitely we saw a difference. We saw really effective things with Methyl B12 shots for him.
Which we also do.
Okay.
And we saw a big jump in language when we started Methyl B12 shots.
Okay, good.
It's not necessarily for every kid, but for some of our kids, it can be something really beneficial.
Right, yeah. We finally had to discontinue when I would sneak in at night, and he would just, put his hand on his bum, like, you're not going to get me tonight,
We never did the sneak in thing.
You didn't? Okay.
We do it, and it's a big deal that, he shows the cheek and I give it to him. He's wide awake, and it's not his favorite thing, but we do it,
Good for him.
But anything, and when you say diet, you mean GFCF.
Gluten, casein-free,
There's so many diets.
You're right, you're right. And then we did some of the allergy testing, so we took out some other things, soy, potato, like milk, like I said, and sugar. That was a really hard few months when we were completely eliminated all that.
And have you put those things back in, or is he still GFCF?
Oh my goodness,
SF?
he is off of
everything and fine.
And that took us 2.5 years before we did that, after he had lost his diagnosis. And then it was finally like he was going away to camp for 5 days. I mean, that's where he is. And I was like, am I really going to work on this? Because we're so loose now.
Right.
And so we just put him off of it, and he's been fine.
And he's been fine.
Yeah.
You could just come and sit here forever and talk to me, because it makes me so happy to hear all of this. Because, you know, we get back to Mission Possible. It is possible. And even if we never get where you are, even if we're just always working to be where you are, it makes me happy to know that there is that destination. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, we're blessed to be here and grateful for all those people that helped us get here.
Well, thank you so much. And please give our love to the entire family. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday season.
Thank you.
Thank you.